Hello my lovely viewers and happy Valentine's Day. The Green Scorpion here, this time without a patron suggested countdown. At least, not officially. While I try to stay couth on the internet, I've never been shy about sharing my admiration for certain fictional characters. What can I say, I'm an emotional guy. And when I get attached to a game's narrative, which happens to me quite often, I can easily get attached to certain characters in particular. I believe the technical term is called waifu? I actually talked about this topic with my patrons a little while ago, and we all agreed that a countdown was in order. So here, on the day most commercially associated with love, I'll be unveiling the top targets of my infatuation. And I'm already embarrassed, but hey, I do it for you. Now first off, I'm a heterosexual man, and as such, all of my choices today are going to be women. Though if I had to pick a guy, it'd be McCree, but that's beside the point. This does create an awkward scenario where I'm picking 10 women and ranking them, which, if I'm not careful, can slip right into objectification. So let me make it clear that this is nothing but opinion, and I'm not trying to say that any of these characters are empirically better than the others. And if this was purely based on looks, I wouldn't even be bothering with this. Sure, it helps that I find all these girls really pretty, and I don't want to downplay the work of character designers who draw them to be aesthetically pleasing, but I'm much more attracted to character and personality, which makes me feel at least a little bit better about saying all this. Basically, this won't be getting into the lewd, the crude, the thick, or the ridic. Let's keep it classy here, folks. I know these characters aren't real, and I'm not gonna get gross about it. These are just 10 girls that, if they did exist, I'd ask them to join me for tea or something. We good? We good. So I got 10 flowers here ready for giving, so let's do this. These are my top 10 video game crushes. I'm not gonna get through the video without answering this question, so here goes. On is best girl in Persona 5. Yes, I know, everyone has their preferences, and my co-writers are very upset with me for not picking Makoto, but that's just how I am. Honestly, I'm the loyal dog type. If a character is introduced to me earlier, it's going to be really tough for newer characters to dethrone them. Which is why neither An nor Makoto are on this list, but rather a girl I met when I was about 22 playing Persona 4, Chie Satonaka. Chie is the first student to welcome you to Yasogami High School, and as you and a group of friends get involved in the mysteries and monsters in the TV world, she's a constant storm of enthusiasm, always ready to cheer you on with some words of encouragement. She's not just here to make the protagonist feel better though. Chie is fiercely driven by her own dream to become a police officer and protect the innocent, something that I think she'll be really good at. Unlike her more traditionally girly best friend Yukiko, Chie is a scrapper, a self-taught kung fu master, and she's seen every Bruce Lee movie at least 10 times. Not to mention she's a total carnivore. Too bad she wasn't in Persona 5, the Big Bang Burger Challenge would be child's play to her. She's got a lot in common with a character from Persona 2 actually, Lisa Silverman, who also loves kung fu and especially Bruce Lee. But with Chie we get to explore more of her personality, even if it's resolved rather quickly. She knows she's a tomboy, but envies Yukiko for having way more gentleman suitors, but little does she know that tons of boys like her. They're just a bit intimidated by the fact that she can kick a person through the stratosphere. Well hey, I'm always up for a good sparring partner. Being able to summon a mystical samurai kind of gives her an unfair advantage, but I'm not afraid of losing. Just don't let her do the cooking. You're great in a lot of ways, Chie, just not that way. Shantae as a series has always been more than comfortable with cheesecake. It's hot out there in Sequin Land after all, characters need outfits with some ventilation. The developers basically designed with the idea that, yeah, most of our characters are hot girls and people are going to be into that, but we should still write them as believable people because that's the right thing to do. I really appreciate that scantily clad dancer, quote unquote, isn't Shantae's only characteristic, just one of many. But as far as crushes go, it wasn't Shantae or Risky or even Roddy Tops. It was Sky who captured my heart in a big brass birdcage. Sky leaves a quick impression as a badass nomad ornithologist. She never stays in one place for long, at least not until the third game when she takes permanent residence in Scuttletown. But despite her drifty nature and terrifying warbirds, Sky proves herself to be a loyal friend to Shantae, almost like a big sister that will help the half-genie with any problem big or small. It's not until Pirate's Curse that we see much in the way of conflict for her. She trains killer falcons and can fix a coffee maker, but she's been really struggling in the dating department. Go figure. It doesn't help that her parents are actively sabotaging her relationships by accidentally getting her boyfriend petrified, and then when you unpetrify him, the creep runs off to go help Ammo Baron take over the world or something. Well, whatever the case, it's not you, Sky, it's him. Any guy'd be lucky to have you, granted they don't mind the constant smell of birds. Well, it's only a game, so I don't have that problem. Sky, Bolo, and Roddy Tops team up for a bonus campaign in Half Genie Hero, with Sky being the most serious member and always butting heads with Roddy Tops. But if I knew Roddy Tops personally, I'd probably get annoyed with her too. Also in that game, she serves as our fast traveler with a giant falcon, and it amazes me that she hasn't used this for dating yet. You say you're having trouble holding on to a man, Sky? Well, just offer to drive on your first date, then show up on Wrench and do the whole new world routine, and you're set. True, not everyone likes birds, but I certainly do, so I'm totally okay with this. I'd like to propose that everyone familiar with Overwatch has an Overwatch crush. Well, most everyone anyway. You can't deny, before the game even came out, there was a deluge of fan art on just about every character, not to mention fanfics, shipping wars, and plenty of stuff not safe for work. How is it that fans got so obsessed with the love lives of people that the story tells us so little about? Well, I think it's because we're told so little about them. Or rather, we're told just enough. The game's director, Jeff Kaplan, states that the focus when creating the roster was diversity and impact, not only referring to drastically different playstyles, but representing different races, body types, and general styles so that no two characters look anything alike. You see one character in a lineup, even just their silhouette, and you know exactly who it is. Kaplan also said that when choosing who to play as, your best character will be the one you're immediately drawn to, i.e., these characters were made to grab your attention right away. Or to borrow a theory from the Idea channel, they're designed for love at first sight. In other words, you had a favorite as soon as you saw them. They're still probably one of your favorites, and their story is established just enough to give you an idea, but vague enough that they can be anything else you want them to be. And I really want Sombra to be my girlfriend. This one's harder to explain. Maybe it's her accent or how I can understand everything she mumbles in Spanish.
Asústame, Panteón.
But Sombra's the only bad girl to hit the top 10. Still, I wouldn't call her an outright villain. She's a hacker in Mexico, and at this time in the future, Mexico's government is full of corruption after the Omnet crisis. So Sombra gets her start digging into the lives of politicians and blackmailing them to stop screwing over the people so much. That's admirable, I guess, but the work's made her cynical, and she's taken to working with some shady characters to get the job done. She's not to be trusted, but you have to admire when someone's great at what they do. This isn't the boring, real-world hacking that's mostly sitting in a chair writing code all day. This is the fast-paced, action-packed, I'm in kind of hacking. Frantic typing all around, but she always keeps her cool. Maybe not the safest bet for a girlfriend, though. She's the loner type through and through, and her closest friends are people she constantly lies to. She'd also know everything about me before I could even ask about her hair. But that's okay with me. I got no shame and nothing to hide. Why else would I be making this list? And I can dig up dirt too. I have access to your wiki, Sombra. Or should I say, Olivia. Yeah, I know your real name, and I know that you had a childhood teddy bear named Arturito, which is the Spanish nickname for R2-D2. And that's adorable. And she's gone. Yeah, dating her's not a good plan, but that doesn't mean I can't have a crush. And if nothing else, well, she's a great dancer. You've probably already heard by now how the original Metroid pulled a fast one on us by revealing Samus as a woman on the end screen. That's because back then, we didn't expect to see women in such an active role, or the developers thought we wouldn't take a girl bounty hunter seriously. But Metroid's not the only game to use that trick. In SNK's Art of Fighting, Ryo battles his way through a ladder of thugs to save his sister Yuri from a mafia leader named Mr. Biggs. His search brings him to a fancy restaurant where he fights the bouncer, an athletic and finely dressed young man who, when I was first playing this, beat the ever-loving snot out of me. Granted, I had no idea how to play this game. I just found it in my local arcade. But all I could think was, who was this ridiculous martial artist that keeps kicking me back down, and why is his voice so high? Yeah, I wasn't very smart at the time. But to be fair, the only way to prove King was a woman in this game is to literally burn her clothes off, and that's not very nice. But we've come to learn now that King is a top-class fighter who hid her gender for a number of reasons. 1. Southtown is ruled by criminals, and it's much safer walking around as a man. Not that King's afraid of street thugs, she actually loves fighting them. Which brings me to number 2, she wanted to be taken seriously as a fighter. At this time in the game's universe, it was hard for a woman to fight dudes without them pulling their punches, and King hates that. Eventually, King would enter a fighting tournament to pay for her brother's surgery, and I can't help but wonder if she's the reason why the tournament was renamed King of Fighters. King apparently had other issues that made her want to hide, but whatever it is, she's gotten over it. Not only is she more revealing with her femininity now, while still keeping to the awesome demure of her original appearance, she's usually seen leading a team of all-girl fighters. No doubt to prove that hitting like a girl is by no means a bad thing. The continuity's been rewritten since her original appearance, but what doesn't change is that she's a sophisticated badass not to be trifled with. Not only does she have some championships under her belt, she now owns a bar called Illusion and spends her off time practicing her kicks and collecting fine wines. I don't think I'm gonna get far offering to buy her a drink, but we could at least talk about crossplay. Maybe? You know what, on second thought that might freak her out. Maybe I'll just ask where she buys her shirts. I've mentioned previously on my channel that my first ever video game was Sonic the Hedgehog 2. No, do not get excited, this isn't building up to a Sonic character. I'm not into that. What I was going to say was, my second game ever was Super Mario Land, the Game Boy game that accompanied my little sister and I on countless family car trips. So before I even knew about Princess Peach, I was saving Princess Daisy, the damsel of my dreams. Daisy is every bit as royal as her blonde best friend. She's the ruler of Sarasa Land, but we haven't seen that place in a while, have we? We need to get back there sometime. But after Super Mario Land and NES World Open, Daisy disappeared until Camelot brought her back for the first Mario Tennis. She got a redesign in Mario Party 4, and she's been a staple in the Mario multiplayer scene ever since. And of course, I like her more than Peach. She's the sporty tomboy of the group, and if you haven't noticed by now, I have a type. The tougher question is, what makes her a tomboy? I mean, she's played in just as many sports and worn just as many frilly dresses as Peach, but something about her speech and movements, taunts in different games, you can tell she's less concerned with playing the pretty princess than Peach is. She's also lower on the damsel scale. She's rarely seen in main series Mario, but by that virtue, she's been kidnapped way less. I can only think of 3 occasions: her first appearance, an event in Mario Run, and most recently in Smash Ultimate where everyone got captured, so that's hardly fair. In the bigger percentage of her appearances, she's playing sports in her orange short shorts and talking smack, so that's more of how I think of her. All the refinement of a princess, but all the friendly competitiveness of that cute girl from gym class. Definitely depends on the game though. Double Dash needed to give her a few more phrases to cycle through.
Hi, I'm Daisy!
And when Nintendo's not really trying, she gets this kind of creepy doll look. But otherwise, super sweet in a cartoony kind of way. Plus, she's a way better girlfriend. Peach is restrained with showing Mario any love, but Daisy's building gold statues of her and Luigi in her Mario Kart track. Not a great use of tax dollars, but a kind gesture nonetheless. They really should incorporate her into the main series more, or at least in the RPGs. But no matter what, Daisy will always be my princess. Well, I never said she was my only princess, right? Give it up for Princess Zelda, in all her variable forms. The Zelda games overall, especially the early ones, always wanted the player to step into the shoes of Link and give him their own name. That's why he's such a blank slate, and what young Zelda player didn't at least think about Link and Zelda getting together after the adventure? That's Disney Fairy Tale 101. I always assumed that Zelda and Link, and by extension me, were an item. Even in the games where Link isn't particularly interested in Zelda, or even if he has a different love interest. But grown up, I now prefer whenever Zelda has a more active role in the story. Pull together the best parts of her reincarnation, and she's like the coolest girl ever. An incredibly powerful sorceress, keeper of the Triforce of Wisdom, wielder of the light arrows, she's a ninja and a pirate, and that one time a ghost that assisted Link by inhabiting hulking suits of armor. Her personality changes over time, but you can always count on her to have courage, intellect, and fierce determination to protect all the good in the world. Can we just start calling her Queen Zelda already, or hell, give her a game of her own? No, not like that one! It's actually kind of funny because for a while Skyward Sword was my favorite game in the series, and I think most of that comes from me just loving the relationship between Link and Zelda here. Seriously, Link, you're a freaking idiot. She is so into you. Just ask her out already. She stands up to Link's bully for him, and across all her appearances, even when getting damseled, she's usually doing something to help Link on his journey. Peach doesn't even try half the time, she's just like, yeah, kidnapped again, Mario's got this, I'll be home by 5. When Ganondorf, Vati, her own family, and even the writers themselves try to sideline her, Zelda's still constantly researching solutions, exploring the world incognito, or giving Link psychic messages to help move things along. And then we have Smash Brothers. Zelda was always a favorite of mine, even in Melee and Brawl when she was low tier. Now she's got some huge buffs, and look at her redesign, she is adorable! She can have the whole Triforce for all I care. She's wise, super brave, and as far as power, man, she doesn't even leave a body! And according to a rumor stone in Ocarina of Time, she's a bit of a tomboy. Well, that checks everything off for me. Why is the franchise named after her when Link's the main character? Because she freaking deserves it. I've been public about my feelings on Ibuki for a while now, but I don't think I've ever explained why. It's actually pretty simple. I just played a lot of Street Fighter 3. Right away, I was struck by her design, with impossible hair and a mask that lent her face an extra bit of mystery. And as you can guess from her outfit and the kunai she throws everywhere, Ibuki is a ninja. But get a few wins, and you'll see her change into the cutest civilian clothes, and reveals that she's also just a regular schoolgirl. I especially like her outfit in Street Fighter V that combines the two into a ninja school uniform. Ibuki quickly became a favorite of mine when I was in my own teen years. She came from a ninja training village but dreamed about being a normal girl, and I was stuck in the normal world and dreamed about being a ninja. Ibuki was my fighting game bae ever since, and I even cosplayed her. So going into this list, I expected her to be at least a little higher. But looking more wholly at her character, I realized that she's kind of super annoying. I mean, in a teenager kind of way. Her dreams of being a normal girl happen to include all the shopping and boys you can imagine, and that's fine, that's how teenagers are. It's just, I'm not a teenager anymore, and she's pretty much stayed the same age. When I heard her voice in Street Fighter V story mode, constantly bickering with Armika in the highest pitch her voice actor could muster, I just felt embarrassed. It also gave me perspective on the whole dub versus sub debate. Ibuki's less the woman I'd ask out now, but she's definitely the girl I would have passed notes to in class. And she's still a cool person that I'll always be happy to fight side by side with. I hope they never make another Street Fighter without her. So after that last entry, I'm afraid of coming off like I hate teenage girls, and that's not fair. Growing up is hard enough for anyone, and it must suck to have your demographic constantly under fire for being irritating and irrational. Skies of Arcadia decided to do right by the adolescents of the world by making not one, but 2 awesome leading ladies. Jury's still out on the strongest ship, Vyzen Aika or Vyzen Fina. There's definite evidence for both. But for me, it was never a contest. Aika is Vyze's lifelong friend who grew into something more. And since I'm the type to imprint onto my player characters, that means I liked her too. A lot. Aika is the most emotionally transparent of the blue rogues, showing the greatest extremes of emotions, but it never gets to the point where it lampoons the character. She has a fiery temper, but the power and prowess to back it up. She's obsessed with treasure and riches, but would never put wealth before human decency. She can be silly with her wild imagination and constant heckling, but when it's time to be serious, she's serious. She's just wild enough to counterpoint Vyze and keep up morale, and even if she doesn't tell you, you always know what she's thinking. But she usually does tell you. And this is by no means a diss on the competition. Fina is an incredibly strong character in her own right, full of strength and resolve, but Aika encapsulates how I think a relationship best starts. She's Vyze's bestie first, and then maybe something starts to bloom over top of that. I mean, what could be better than dating your best friend? Dating your best friend who can immolate foes with a flaming boomerang, that's what. True love means accepting someone for their flaws. So I guess I really love Octopath Traveler because it's flawed as hell, and I'm still obsessed with it 6 months later. And if you saw my recent countdown, you already know where I'm going with this. That's right, Hanit, proud huntress of the woodlands. And since I talked about her so recently, I'll keep this swift. Archery is awesome, she has an adorable pet snow leopard, and she can befriend most animals in the wild. How fun would it be to go on a hike with her? And I'm gonna go ahead and get this out of the way, I think she's super pretty. But on a deeper level, I relate to her. 1, she's socially oblivious. Not to the same degree as Cyrus, but she grew up as one of the few residents of Svarki, and it shows. Not just in her weird Middle English, which honestly doesn't bother me, it's like hanging out in a BBC fantasy series, but in how awkward she is about showing emotion, and how she sometimes misses certain tells. My early life was kind of sheltered as well, so I get how confusing social cues can be. Maybe that's why I like people who are forward with what they want. And there's the whole humility thing. As I've said before in my hate to love list, egotism is one of my least favorite character traits. Actions speak louder than words. But Honey's so far in the other direction, she doesn't even know how to accept praise. And when a guy shows clear signs of being attracted to her, she has no idea. That is precious. And neither of us are big drinkers or party animals. We'd be the two sitting in the corner somewhere talking about wolves. I honestly didn't expect such a new character to be so high on the list, but as soon as I booted up the game, I was struck with Cupid's arrow. And I've yet to recover.
I honor thee, my quarry.
I have a lot of crushes, but I only have one waifu. You know who it is. I've tried to fight it. I've tried to hide it, but I have so much respect and admiration for this character that I need to shout it from the battlements. I have a crush on Lyn from Fire Emblem. I played Blazing Sword in 2003, and Lyn was right there from the start to introduce me to what would be a lifelong favorite game series. To start, there's just the cool stuff. She's a crazy good swordswoman. I could watch those 16-bit crit animations all day. She also grows into an amazing leader even though she comes from the humblest beginnings, all alone in the plains of Sake, unaware that she was a descendant from royalty. And then there are her appearances after Blazing Sword, assist trophies in Smash Brothers, the only elite representative in Warriors, and dear god Fire Emblem heroes. Not only do you have base Lyn, you've got Valentine's Lyn, Archer Lyn, incredibly broken mounted Archer Lyn, and oh come on, that's not even fair! But that's all stats and aesthetic. This is about Lyn as a person. Years ago, around the Discord of Fire Emblem Fates, a lot of people were bashing Corrin as a lord with no personality. Well, for the record, I do think he has a personality, I just don't like him. But at the same time, a sensible counter-argument shot back that the previous Fire Emblem lords were pretty flat too, and that all the depth we thought they had was just blind nostalgia. That gave me pause. I was forced to reconsider Lyn as a character. But honestly, I think that's untrue. I think there's a lot to Lyn. Maybe you prefer the more recent characters that wear their traits more overtly on their sleeves, and it helps that the newer titles have voice acting, but while subtle, Lyn proves herself to be as complex and, to me, admirable as any other character in the series. She has a strong sense of right and wrong. She's determined to achieve her goals even if it means crossing a country that's out to kill her. She harbors anger for the bandits that killed her people and at first travels to gain strength and seek revenge, but over time she sets her sights on more pressing things like the good of the world, and while guarded at first, learns to trust some more brutish allies like the pirate leader Fargus or the young Lord Hector. She's always up for a good sparring match and can get real mad when you go easy on her, but again, this is clearly developed from her past when the Lorca tribe survivors refused to unite behind a little girl. She balances hardness and softness, and pulls together a league of recruits by sheer force of character, always having the compassion to stop and help anyone in need. Her hope and devotion is so inspiring, it literally keeps her dying grandfather alive. And one of my favorite moments in Fire Emblem, possibly in gaming history, is this optional conversation in Hector's story. Hector's never really been good with feelings, and has been so distracted by leadership that he can't mourn the loss of his brother. Lyn finds this out, and in an act of beautiful empathy, holds him and sobs, saying, "You don't need to cry, Hector. I'll cry for you." This is the moment that solidified my adoration for her. Hector wishes he could be emotionally available. He's just a big steel wall, and Lyn's exactly who he needs right now. She may be the one weeping, but she does it because she's strong. She's the one strong enough to cry, to acknowledge the depths of pain she's in, and she keeps fighting anyway. Honestly, the only reason I might not ask Lyn out for a date is because I really don't want to take her away from Hector. Or Wrath, I guess. I mean, some people like that ship. I seriously don't think I'm reading something that's not there. This strength of character is intended. It's real. And maybe it resonates with me more because of nostalgia. That's how emotions work sometimes. With Hanit as an exception, my biggest crushes are characters from my youth. I took what was written and added more details that I projected onto them because at the time I was more impressionable. Now that I'm older, my thoughts on these characters haven't changed, but it's harder for new characters to reach that level because, well, I'm kind of preoccupied. 2 years ago, I started dating Amber, or Ignis as you might know her, and they've been the happiest 2 years of my life. And while I started this countdown as more of a joke than anything, I can't help but notice that the qualities I love in these characters are things I love about Amber. I know you're watching this, Amber, so I'd like to take this opportunity to say, thank you so much for being you. You're strong like Chie, smart like Sky, clever like Sombra, cute like Daisy, earnest like Ibuki, tough like King, and resolute like Zelda. You're a total tomboy like, well, all of these characters. You love animals like Hanit, and like Aika to Vise, you're my best friend. Lin may be my waifu, but I would turn away from everyone here if it means I can be with you. I love you, Amber. I always will. Well then, maybe not my best move. I dedicated a whole video to my girlfriend wherein I talk about all the other girls I like, and kind of bragged about my relationship to all my followers. I know a lot of people hate Valentine's Day because it kind of rubs salt on the wound if you're single. Single Awareness Day we used to call it. Well, first of all, you don't need someone to complete you. You complete yourself. And second, if you're looking for that special someone, they're out there somewhere. I mean, hey, I'm an eccentric nerd who talks about video game weapons all day, and right now I'm pretty dang happy. In the meantime, there's nothing wrong with having some fictional crushes. You can even go the whole waifu crazy fan art route if you want. Whatever floats your boat, just try to keep it civil. Maybe you're just exploring the kind of people you like. Or maybe you're just enjoying yourself with the media you love. Either way, it's a good thing. So thanks again to these 10 ladies for teaching me about emotion, and thank you my beautiful watchers for beautifully watching. Happy Valentine's Day, and now it's time for me to go drown myself in shame.